Welcome back to the American Dream. I have with me Gary Massa from Pacific Sotheby's Realty, International Realty. They are all over the world. Along with Brian Carr, as CPA, we're going to talk about a lot of exciting things, the tax reforms, what it means to home buyers and sellers. Thanks so much for being here, you guys.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Of course, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
So going into, we're talking about resolutions, and I know the topic of a lot of people's minds. We're wondering how the tax reform is going to affect home buying, how it's going to affect people who already have homes. So Brian, let's start with you. You're the CPA, you're the tax guy. Let's talk tax.
Yeah, exciting stuff. So there's been quite a few changes over the last few weeks. The biggest, well, not necessarily biggest, but a lot of things that we want to discuss today is how is it going to affect current homeowners and future or potential home buyers, and just kind of give a feel for, well, how is it really going to affect each person? The big things, the few things I want to discuss was the mortgage interest deduction and how it's being limited. So in previous years, it was already being limited at $1 million on mortgage debt with an additional $100,000 of home equity. That's been reduced to $750,000.
Okay. It's a huge difference.
Yeah, so it is a difference. But then on the other hand, how many people have mortgages that exceed $750,000? Right. And then also, if you do exceed that amount, it doesn't negate the entire amount.
Sure.
It's just the amount that's over $750,000.
And we're talking about that's the loan amount, right?
That is the loan amount.
So that's a loan on $1 million or a loan on $750,000. That's not necessarily the purchase price.
Correct. It's just the loan. So when you really break it down, it's not nearly as big of a change as people think.
Right. It sounds big when you don't really understand what it's actually talking about. So when you break it down, it's really a smaller amount than what you anticipate.
Correct.
Okay.
The other big change, and this is something we've been talking about quite a bit over the last few weeks, is the limitation of the state and local tax deduction. So that's very kind of a hot topic here in California because obviously we pay fairly high state taxes. Coming 2018, that's now going to be limited. Both state and state income taxes and property taxes are going to be limited to $10,000.
Gotcha.
So that, once again, is going to be a reduction in some of the deductions that people are getting, specifically homeowners, but it may not be such a big change for as many people as they think because most people may or may not be paying more than $10,000 a year in property taxes.
Right.
A lot of people do pay more in state taxes, so there's going to be some limitation, but it probably won't have as much of an effect as
Absolutely. And I know, Gary, you are the real estate guru. You understand where the median prices are in different areas, so you can touch on how the different price brackets, how they're really going to be affected. And what do you think? So San Diego as a whole, we have a pretty high median sales price, but it depends on the area, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, yes and no. So in San Diego County altogether, I think it's right around $550 is the median home price. And then for areas like let's say North County, December was $700, or at the beginning of December was $700,000,
wow.
Which was, the highest amount that it's been throughout the year, but still on a purchase price of $700,000, that's still underneath, the loan amount of $750 as well. So, I mean, again, the fraction of people that this would be affecting the most is going to be far more limited than the general public.
So you're still getting those tax deductions, and it's up to that $10,000.
Right.
So you're still seeing those benefits. You should still seek home purchasing because it's really going to affect you positively in the end. It's just
well, and what I understand as well is it's not going back to everybody who already has mortgages in place. That's all just new purchases going forward. And again, this may be affecting the more towards the multi-million-dollar price point or some of the higher end. But again, there's other things that may be some compensating factors that are going into place already, like for instance the reduction in for taxes for corporations, right? That end of the spectrum may see a little bit more tax break and some more liquidity, from the tax breaks in that area. And as well, there's some other things that people aren't talking about right now, like some of the changes going on in the lending world. That's opening up, loosening guidelines, and allowing homeownership to be a little bit more affordable, for all ends of the market. So I think that there's some offsetting, compensating factors that people aren't talking about right now. That's also going to help push our market forward this coming year.
Makes so much sense. We're focusing so much on one thing, but there's always something to compensate it. There's always pros and cons. There's something to outweigh. We're all on the same board to make sure that America is functioning as a whole, that our economy is the strongest. So there's a rhyme and a reason to everything. So I completely understand what you're saying and the fact that you have to have that confidence that there's a reason for it. It's, to better us. And what do you guys think of the real estate market as a whole? What are your predictions for 2018?
Gary, I'll leave that one to you.
Yeah, fantastic. You know, realistically, I'm very excited about this coming year as well. Again, I do think that we're going to start to see more inventory coming to the market, and which will be a kind of a welcome thing. Like right now, in most markets, we have less than 2 months of inventory in most markets. So again, I think that'll help kind of push you know, our markets forward as well. I don't know that we'll see like the jump in pricing. I think that this will have some sort of effect on our pricing, but again, I think that we'll still see a modest increase throughout the next year, and probably more people getting to make those purchases.
Awesome. I know a lot of people listening probably got some faith that they were thinking about buying. Is it the right time to buy?
Yeah.
I can completely agree with you. It's going to be one of those steady years, kind of like what we saw in 2017. We were promised those rate spikes, and now we're at it. And it's a healthy overall, more inventory. There's still certainly a demand.
Well, and to that point, last year at this time, we were all kind of scared about how those interest rate hikes were going to affect the market. Some people thought that prices were going to be pushed down. But in fact, we actually had a larger median home price gain in 2017 than we did in 2016, even with the mortgage rate hikes. So again, this year, I still think that, you know, we'll start to, with more people being able to come and afford homes with the new changes in the mortgage guidelines. I still think that we'll start to see, you know, some price increases as well.
I appreciate you guys being here today. Gary, the videos you put on social media, they're very easy to listen to. It's really easy to kind of watch and follow and understand what's going on. And Brian, thank you so much for being here and breaking down taxes. You guys have made me feel better, made buyers feel better, sellers feel better. So thanks so much for being here.
Thanks
again,
us.
appreciate it.
Of course. We'll be right back with more of The American Dream.